Okay, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Thanks. So how is everybody doing today?
Good, thanks, Priya.
Okay, great. So welcome to the session on Google Analytics Essentials Part 2. And I'm going to share my screen. Just having a little trouble. Please bear with me. So is everybody able to see my screen and am I audible?
Yes, everything is good.
Okay, so we are going to get started on our second session on Google Analytics, the Essentials Part 2, continuing with our first session from last week. And I'm going to start today's class with a quote from Peter Drucker, who is the father of management thinking. He once said, if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. And that holds so true when it comes to Google Analytics. And that's why we use Google Analytics reporting. And there are four different types of reports, as you can see: the audience report, the acquisition report, behavior, and conversion. And we will also be looking into the campaign tracking in Google Analytics today. If we recall last week's class, when we talked about digital analytics, we started with the sales process explanation, and the sales process being exemplified by the sales funnel, where we start with building awareness among our audience, and then it goes into acquiring them, and then we engage them on our online properties before converting them into buyers and customers. As you can see, this similar process, the audience acquisition, behavior, and conversion, that's how Google Analytics has also divided its reports into. This is the Google Analytics reporting interface. As you can see, it is the same. So it is really important that we understand the backbone of the complete process, which is the sales process. And let's start with audience reports. First, before going into the audience reports, I'll be recalling some of the components that we used on the reports, and then we'll be delving into the key metrics in the audience reports, which is the users, new users, sessions, number of sessions per user, page views, so on and so forth, to bounce rate. And then we will also, after elaborating on all those different key metrics, we are going to go into the uh, audience reports itself, which, and we are going to cover the different details, the different five different aspects of the audience reports, which is the demographics, interests, technology, geography, and behavior. And navigating through these different aspects on the audience reports, we will also be covering the active users, once again, the demographics, interests, geography, behavior, technology, and mobile aspects. And then we will, so what exactly does the audience reports help us do? Well, basically, most businesses that most small businesses, especially, I'm not talking about the large corporations, but most small businesses do not have any, they have very little idea or no idea about their customer persona. And this audience, by going through the data in the audience reports, it actually helps to well define the customer persona, as well as it helps you speak to the right people whenever you launch a marketing campaign or an advertising campaign. So let's look at the analytics, Google Analytics interface. We are on the audience overview report. And as you know, the date range, this is the date range selector from last week class. And as you see, it is set for the month of November. This is the date range selector again. This is the segment picker. This is the metric selector. This is the time selector. This is the line graph for this particular user metric. And then these are the different key metrics in audience reports. And these are called as these little lines are miniature graph lines. Are called as spark lines, and as well as this is a called the pie chart for this is a pie chart for the new visitor versus the returning visitor percentages. So let's get started with by exploring the different metrics. These metrics are very important that we understand these metrics and know the definitions. Uh, by hovering over, you will be able to see the different definitions for the users who have initiated at least one session during the date range. That's the definition. The next is new users, the number of first time users during the selected date range, and then the sessions, total number of sessions within the date range. Which date range are they referring to? It is this date range. Within this date range, 70, we have had sessions of 70,825 sessions. And then there is the number of sessions per user. This metric is nothing but it is the sessions divided by the users, which is equals to 1.31 sessions per user for Google Merchandise Store on the master view. The next one is the page views. Page views is the total number of pages viewed. And then this is the pages per session, which is also called as the average page depth. And it is the average number of pages viewed during a session. Or this is pages per session is nothing but page views divided by sessions. So if you divide this number by this number, you get this number. And then comes the average session duration. What is the average session duration? It is the average length of a session. And then comes the bounce rate. The bounce rate is the percentage of single page sessions in which there was no interaction with the page. So these are the important metrics for us to keep in mind. As you know, users, new users, and sessions are for acquisition, are for the excuse me, acquisition. The bounce, the sessions per user, page views, and pages per session are for behavior. And then for conversion rates, there are a separate set of metrics. So we are going to start by looking at the active users. And the active users can be checked out for a 1 day time period, 7 days, 14 days, and 28 days. The important point here is that the numbers from 1 day to 7 days to 14 days to 28 days must be on an incremental uh, should be on an incremental scale. If it is not on an incremental scale, then it is a cause for concern. The reason why is the active users report actually measures the stickiness or the site reach of your website, and it is not doing well in terms of stickiness, and that's a cause for concern. The next is the audience or the demographics report. starting with the demographics report. The demographics report, as you know, shows the characteristics such as the age and the gender. As you can see, the most of the people coming into the Google merchandise store are aged 24 to 34 years old, and then most of them are males. Um, and it helps you clear understand better about your customer persona. So now you can choose based on based on these different data, what the age range of a well-defined customer persona would be, probably 25 to 35 years old, and we would choose a male persona. Um, Based on the data. And then comes the interests. What we can learn about in the interests is there are three different categories: affinity category, in market segment, and then other category. In the affinity category, you will be able to see the broad interest range of the users that come into your site, and you'll be able to see what kind of content they are browsing for when they are on the internet. So you can see that the users that are coming into your website, Google has anonymously provided us with all these data about the users. And it is that they also love going to movie websites. They also love doing shopping. They also like technology. So next time I am thinking about launching a display campaign, and I'm looking for publishers' websites, I will be considering movie or entertainment websites. I will be considering technology websites because that's where most of my audience are coming in from. And the next is the in-market segment. The in-market segment is nothing but a group of people that are ready to buy a product because they have been looking for these kind of products, the business services, advertising and marketing services, and so on and so forth. They have been looking for that, to buy that product, such as, for example, I can give an example of airline ticket, or they are looking to buy a real estate property. And when they are browsing, Google kind of anonymously records all the data of that particular user, and if they arrive at your website, it kind of shows us what kind of users are arriving at our website when it comes to in-market segment. The next is the other category, which means which is again another broad category which tells us a lot of details about our audience that are coming into our website. Basically, even some of them that I saw was even soccer, people who are interested in soccer and games like that. So that explains about the interest categories. So how exactly does learning about all this about our audience really help us do, and especially the affinity categories and the in-market categories? It is by learning these, what we can do is next time we launch an advertising campaign, we can tailor our audience selection based on what we see in our Google Analytics data. So basically, the Google AdWords as well as Google Analytics, all these different affinity categories that you're seeing here are available to you on Google AdWords selection as well. So you can go select if a lot of users, for example, are coming in and they are interested in media and entertainment and technology technophiles, then when you select the audience selection in Google AdWords, you will be able to select based on those categories. And also it helps us to pinpoint our customer persona. All this information also helps us to pinpoint the customer persona. So next is the geography. The geography or the location. Um, um, reports, the geography or the location reports we are going to see is in the form of a heat map, or Google anonymously determines the country, the city, the continent, and the subcontinent from where our users arrive from by tracking the IP address on the user's browser. So it is not very surprising that most of the users to Google merchandise store are coming in from United States of America. And as you can see, there is a high revenue generation. There is a high revenue generation for this segment coming in from US. But as you can see, even though the second row does not have any conversions, the third row does have a conversion, and that segment is coming in from Canada. So next time we think about launching a marketing campaign or advertising campaign, we have to have these people, these set of people coming in from Canada for a special promo or any something like that, so that they will be encouraged to buy more products and you will have more conversion. And one other scenario when it comes to geography is when there is a lot of people coming in, like for example 25K people coming in from one particular country, and if you see a high bounce rate, this is not a high bounce rate, but if you do see a high bounce rate, what that means is that particular region people are interested in your products, but they are for some reason the language on your website or something is turning them off or away from your website. So you might want to offer your ads as well as your websites in a language that is custom tailored to that particular segment, audience segment. So that's one scenario how you can use the geography reports. Then the next report is the behavior reports. The behavior reports actually are very important reports, considering it shows us the trends. You can select the new visitor as well as the returning visitor, and then you can plot the rows, and you can see that the user and you will be able to see the user trend graph lines on the interface. So by learning the user trend, you understand if the traffic to your website is increasing on an increasing trend or on a decreasing trend. And if it is on a decreasing trend, then you might want to take action and resolve problems that is causing that retarded trend. So that's about for the new and returning visitors. The next is the frequency and the recency is, of course, it helps us to understand how frequently how often your visitors are coming in, and also the recency part shows us how recently they have visited. The next is the engagement, which is actually the engagement is one of the most important behavior metrics, and the two metrics that are key metrics in this performance is session duration and page views. We take these two metrics seriously when we consider the behavior of the users on your website. And these days, the session duration is gaining more importance over the page view metrics. Why? Because of mobile optimized nature. What happens in mobile, as you know that in mobile we just scroll through just a single page, right? And we are seeing the information on just one single page. We don't like to change from one page to the other because that's optimized mobile user experience. And then similarly, even on a e-commerce websites such as, for example, take Coles.com, what we keep doing on a mobile is we keep, or even on our desktop for that matter, what we do is we go to a page that for a certain product, and then we browse through the list, and then at the bottom is load more button, and we keep clicking on the load more button, and we keep scrolling down the same page. So that's going to throw you off the track if you are going to just follow through with the page views. So in that kind of situation, what we take into consideration is the session duration, and the number of sessions that are related to higher time periods that people have spent on the website. So that's about the behavior. And moving on to the technology part, the technology actually provides us with a ton of information about the browser and the operating system, where we can get more information about what kind of browsers or operating systems or the screen resolution, screen colors that the users are using when they are accessing our website. And as you can see in this particular report, there is the Chrome and the Safari are the ones that are most popular. So we need to keep that in mind when we think about the habits of or the technology devices that are being used by our audience when they come to our website. And over here, as you can see, there are 21 rows of in the data set, but only the 10 rows are being displayed. So if you want, you can scroll through all of the different rows by just clicking on the up and down on the arrow keys here, as well as you can change the number of rows that you can view at a glance by changing the settings here. And the next thing is, when we go to the mobile, the overview gives us a sense of how many users are coming from desktop, mobile, and tablet. So most of the users that come to the Google Merchandise Store are coming in from the desktop. And also you can always remember to look at the users, the bounce rate, the average session duration, as well as the e-commerce conversion rates or the revenue that is being generated, because that is going to give you a good sense of what your users how many users have the potential, and how that particular data, this is actually audience data. So by looking at the bounce rate, I will be able to understand if the desktop or the mobile or tablet is doing well, or which one is doing better and which one is not doing better. By looking at the revenue, also I can judge who are converting, like which is giving me the most conversion and which is not giving me the most conversions. So this is the way we look at the different data sets. um, and moving on, that is about the audience reports. And we are going to move into the Google Analytics PowerPoint presentation. If you all have any questions right now about the audience reports, I can take it. And but before the questions, I would like to also mention that all this different tech, especially the technology part that we were talking about, it helps us by giving insights into what our developers and designers need to prioritize in development work, as well as the updates that they are going to perform on our online properties, so that they can create a mobile optimized or a desktop optimized user experience for our users. So any questions, anybody, about the audience reports?
My question is about the gender.
Uh-huh.
Typically, you don't get gender that easily when it comes to your Google Analytics. Want to know, how do you get gender over time? Because some users, they you don't really know typically what kind of they're either male or female, right?
I don't know about that. In that respect, I don't know about. But basically, there are only two different categories that the Google provides, which is male and female. And as you can see over here, there is a 41% of the total users. The reason why Google puts in this number is because based on 41% of the total users only, this particular percentage chart has been made. Uh, for the rest of them, Google does not exactly, could not determine that particular characteristic for the audience.
Mm.
Does, does that make it clear or?
It does make sense, yeah. And how do you
Yeah.
think they're able to figure out what kind of gender you're in, basically?
It is done through a lot of actually the explanation is even though we don't have clear cut data about it or the procedure as to how Google determines it, but we can but based on what I know, I can tell that you are logged into your Google products, for example, Gmail, or Google Analytics or Google Search Console, any of the any of the Google products, if you're logged into, it can anonymously determine your gender. It can anonymously determine your demographics details, as well as your interests and browsing behavior, geography, and all that stuff. And but geography, as I explained, it is based on the IP address that is on your on your browser.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
makes sense. Thank you.
oh, okay, you're welcome. So, anybody has any other questions? Okay, I'm glad everybody is clear about it. So let's move on to the next topic, which is the acquisition reports. The acquisition reports, before we go into the acquisition reports, I would like to touch upon the IDA concept. Does anybody know what IDA concept stands for, or does anybody have any thoughts on it?
I think it's like attraction, interest, decision, and action. Something like this.
Pretty close. It is actually the IDA concept. Let's look at what it is. It's
Okay.
actually the different stages through which a user goes through when once they are introduced to a process, to a product or a service. It is the progression of a customer through the different phases, and those phases are awareness. They start right here. From the awareness, they go into the interest, then they go into the desire, and then they go into the action. And this was later on added. It is called advocacy. So what is awareness is nothing but once a user comes to know about your product exists as a part of a solution for the problem that they have, then they are bucketed in the awareness phase. Then the next one is if they are still interested in your product and they want to peruse a little bit more to learn about your products, then they are put in the interest category. And then the next is the desire phase, where they have kind of compared your product, and they are now considering a purchase. That's in the desire phase. And then comes the action phase. In the action phase, they are either purchasing or subscribing to your product or services, and that is the action phase. And at last, they are not only purchasing, they have become loyal to your products and services because they have enjoyed and reaped the benefits of your products and services. Though, so they are going to talk about it through word of mouth and through social media. They are spreading the word on your product or service. That's called advocacy. So these are the different stages in the IDA. And as you can see, for each, and what we do as marketers, as digital marketers, is we launch different marketing campaigns at different stages for different stages. So if a person is in the interest stage, we want to move them over to the desire stage. If the person is in desire stage, we want to move them over to the action stage. How do we do that is through a marketing strategy. And as we move them closer to the action oriented conversion phase, we realize that there is a lot of marketing campaigns that we have launched, probably an email newsletter campaign, paid search advertisements, display advertisements, and so on and so forth. So when you have launched all these different campaigns, you want to find out which ones are bringing in high quality traffic and what is working and what is not. So can anybody tell me what a high quality traffic is?
Um, maybe organic traffic? I don't know.
Uh,
No?
Well, it's the high quality traffic, as I want to define here, is actually one that actually comes in, engages with your website, and also converts on your website, because that will be the fulfillment of your business objectives, right? So those that is what we call as high quality traffic. So if we want to know about the high quality traffic, where do we go to? We go to the acquisition reports. And then the next thing is we are going to navigate the acquisition reports on overview, as well as all traffic reports, which are going to talk about the channel reports, source medium reports, as well as the referrals report. And going into the Google Analytics, we are going to browse through the acquisition overview reports. And here we are finding a lot of channels that have brought in, that has delivered users into our website. So the direct is something with a medium of none, is nothing but when a person goes in and types in your web address into the URL bar, then they are called as the direct traffic. And the reason why is there is no referring link here, like the way you have a referring link in the referral section, wherein there is referrals are nothing but they are the external websites that have a backlink to your site. So these are the so that is one channel. Then there is an organic search. Organic search is actually as you all know, when a user performs a search on the search engine, they if it is related to our product or service, the search engine pulls up our website, and then the user clicks on it, and then they land on our website. The next is display ads, and then the other format is the paid search ads as well, by launching Google AdWords campaigns, Bing, and Yahoo, and so on and so forth. So by going into the all traffic channels report, we are able to see which ones is actually giving us the best results. Over here, it seems to be for the month of, we should always remember the date, the days. So for November 1st to November 30th, the most traffic is coming in through the direct, and which has given us a lot of revenue generation for the Google Merchandise Store. And as you can see, there has been 106 transactions through direct. and the paid search not much, but still there has been some conversions on paid search. And then the rest of them are, as you see, are giving diminishing results. The next one is the source medium. In the source medium reports, we are going to see, first let me clarify what source and medium is. The medium is the mechanism which delivers users to your website. Uh, and the source gives you more information on that particular medium. So, for example, if I say CPC or cost per click is the medium, then Google could be a source, Bing could be a source, Yahoo could be a source. So as you can understand now from what source and medium are, so this is CPC from Google, and you will be able to see all of the different campaigns that have been launched, and along with which is the along with the medium and the source reports. And if you want to dig in further a little more and add a little bit more details, you can also see which device they are using. For example, if I want to see, okay, this Google CPC is also on desktop as well as on mobile. These two are the most prominent. It seems that when it comes to the Google CPC, they first preferred is the desktop, the second preferred is the mobile for viewing those. So those ads were shown in there, and that's how the you get a traffic from those particular sources, right? So the next is the referrals. The referrals is very straightforward, as we can see. The different referring links, the external websites, those that are providing you with backlinks, those are the referral links that you can see here. So beyond the Google store, merchandise store website, these are the other Google websites that have been referring the merchandise store as well, and are bringing in traffic from their websites. The next one is I would like to really quickly touch upon the Google Ads. The reason why is I would like to explain that how important linking becomes when you have to link the Google AdWords to the Google Analytics and turn on the and enable the auto tagging on Google AdWords. It kind of gives you a better picture of just beyond clicks, because in Google AdWords all you will be able to see through is only up to the CPC information. And beyond that, if you want to see information as to what that particular traffic that comes into the website is doing, you will need to go and look at, you will need to link Google AdWords to your analytics. Now you will be able to see, okay, I have launched a marketing campaign, and I have some click-through rate. The click-through rate is good, and what are those users doing on my website? Is you can see that how their bounce rate is, how their paid sessions they are doing. If people who are coming in through that particular channel, are they converting or not? As you can see, it's all of this different campaigns that are launched on Google, but not very much on the. Uh, you can see that it is not very well performing. You have only about like $94.40 worth of revenue just on this first 10 pages. Sorry, 10 rows of data that you are able to see. Uh, and all of this is based on the clicks. These are the and also I wanted to mention that you can sort this data that are on the data table by clicking on a specific, just like in Excel, I think. When you click the first time, it is in an ascending order. That means uh, it's actually in a descending order, which shows um, highest number of clicks, then moves on into the lowest number, which is and then if you click one more time, it shows us the lowest number, and then it increases to the highest number. So that's about for the Google Ads. But one of the points I would like to mention here is do not take it per se as these are not performing well, because your ad could have actually influenced the mind of the user who actually clicked on the ad, came into your website, saw all of your products, and then went back. But the next day he might come back and not as a not as a traffic, not as a paid search traffic, but as a direct click, as a direct traffic to your website. And he might actually make a purchase. So how do we know, understand that? Because this is called as all of this information can be learned through multi-channel funnels, and that's a whole another topic by itself that we need to learn on Google Analytics. So I stop here with the Google AdWords, explaining the importance of linking Google AdWords to Google Analytics. Similarly, I would also like to touch on the Google Search Console. When linked to Google Analytics, can give you so much information about the queries that are actually generating organic search traffic to your website. So these are the different queries. You can see the clicks, the impressions that it has, the click-through rate it has, and the average position on the search results for each one of these different search query terms. With this, we wrap up the acquisition. Any questions on the acquisition? On the acquisition reports, anybody? Okay, so moving on, I guess everybody is clear about acquisition. It is pretty straightforward. So let's move on to the behavior reports. The behavior reports, let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation here. The behavior reports, just like we saw in the audience reports, there are some key metrics that we need to learn about the behavior reports. That is page views, unique page views, average time on page, percentage exit, and bounce rate. So why is the behavior reports important? Because the user behavior on the site gives us a lot of insights about the site performance, and we can have multiple questions such as what content are the users engaging with when they come into our website? Are they browsing and requesting information on our products and services? Are they doing a comparison shopping with our competitor products? Are they reading the product reviews? And are they making a purchase or on the site, or are they requesting for more information? Right? So you can have a lot of questions, and all the answers are in the behavior reports. So this is where we go for finding out more information to get answers to all those questions. The next thing is I would also, when we are talking about the behavior, there is the bounce rate, which is an important metric to keep track of uh, when it comes to user engagement. So let's see what bounce rate is good for us. As we know that bounce rate is nothing but the percentage of single user sessions which has had no interaction with the web page. That's the definition of bounce rate. And as you can understand from the definition, the lower the bounce rate, the better the higher the engagement. So, as a rule of thumb, the bounce rate between 26 to 40% is excellent. 41 to 55% is roughly average. 56 to 70% is higher than average, and above 70% is is actually a disappointing when it comes to the bounce rates. And all of this data was put together by GoRocketFuel.com. They had conducted some studies with a lot of their customers, and they had put together this chart and shared it with us. So even though it is nice to know this data, it is not exactly applicable to all of the industries and all of the websites. It depends on what website or what's the purpose of the website, or what the objective of your business is. So for example, a blogging or a news website, news or a publisher's website, is people come there only to mainly to get the information, and once they get that information, they stay on the page for a certain amount of time, and then they bounce away. So this will not, the bounce rate, if even if you have a higher bounce rate on those kind of websites, it will not be it is not harmful to those websites, unless otherwise you are on a different platform of websites whereby you want the bounce rate to be low. You want the users to go from one page to the other so that they are basically converting. Then it is and that's what your conversion goal is. Then it is a different case scenario. We are also going to look at the overview, the behavior flow, and the site content in the Google Analytics interface before we move on to the conversion reports. So let's go to the behavior reports. And in the behavior reports, once again, we are going to look at the key metrics like we talked about. These are the key metrics: page views. Page views is the total number of pages viewed, and unique page views is nothing but the number of sessions during which a specified page was viewed at least once. What's the difference between page views and unique page views? Is nothing but in a session, if you have if you are going back and forth to the same page, then each and every time you load that particular page, it is counted as a page view in page views. Whereas in a session, if you are going even multiple times, it will not be counted in the unique page views. So what is a session? We already have seen what a session is, but let me explain a little bit further, just to clarify things. Um, a session is a start, as we all know, a session begins when a user goes and clicks on clicks on a or downloads a particular page from your website onto their browser. The tracking code that is embedded on that particular page will actually direct the page to send a page view hit to the Google server. So when the Google server receives a page view hit, it will initiate a particular session for that particular user. on that particular page. So as long as the user is active on your website, moving on, interacting with the page and doing things, then the session will be active. Whereas when the user goes inactive, for example, if I move from, I opened a page on my Google browser, Chrome browser, and then I move on to another tab, that means I have now the page that I opened has become inactive, right? So if there is a length of time period like 30 minutes, then the session is timed out. And if I go back to the same tab, the Google will actually initiate another session for me, uh, because the previous session has expired. How and One more tip on the session is, if you want to ever reset it for your particular website based on your objective is different, and you don't want the sessions to be 30 minutes long, you want it to be 45 minutes long or 50 minutes long, you just go to the property column in the admin section, and then you go to the tracking info, and then you click on session settings. As you can see, as the administrator, you will be able to hear this is the default setting, which is 30 minutes. But if you want it to be a little bit higher, then you can set it higher or lower as based on your website objective. So continuing with our behavior key metrics, moving on to the average time on page. The average amount of time users spend viewing a specified page is the average time on page. Bounce rate, we know that it is the percentage of single page sessions in which there was no interaction with the page. Then is the percentage of exit, is nothing but the number of exits divided by the number of page views. So after we understand this key metrics, and also we have an idea about what the bounce rate, how the bounce rate is supposed to be, let's move on to the site content. The site content is all pages report is one of the most one of the key reports on which we rely on for understanding which are the top performing pages as well as which are poorly performing pages. For example, this home page on the Google Merchandise Store has had 43,770 page views, and it has a low bounce rate, and it has the average page on time is 1 minute and 27 seconds, which is actually better than the 51 seconds, which is the site average. We can understand this by even better by going to the comparison view. In the comparison view, you can see that the home page has done extensively better than the rest of the pages. So this is one of the top performing pages for the Google Merchandise Store. The next is the performance, which shows the performance, is the performance view, which actually is like a bar graph of your performance of each and every page on the website. As you can see, there are 855 pages or rows on the website, and there are 855 data rows corresponding to so many different web pages. And you can always peruse them by using the left and right arrow keys. And the next one is the content drill down. Just like all pages, we had the pages listing. Here it is the section listing. The content drill down is the session listing, uh, or if I could call it, it is based on the directory structure of the website, of your website, and you will be able to see which section, not one single page, but which section is doing really well on your website. You will be able to get an even better view with a percentage view. Like you can see that this particular section, Google plus redesign, has about 61.78 page views. So this is the most popular section, and you can either make adjustments, you can enhance the most popular sections on your website, or you can focus on those that are not doing well, and you can improve the performance on those sections as well. The next one is the landing pages. Is the landing pages report. In the landing page report is basically, it becomes critical whenever the landing page is actually from an advertising campaign. Suppose you have a call to action button and which lands on a particular page here, then you might want to actually make sure that the bounce rate is actually not high on that page. Because suppose, let's say this Google redesign shopping, shop plus buy plus brand, this particular YouTube page is actually a landing page for one of my ad campaigns. I don't want to see a bounce rate which is high, because what that says is there is either a disconnect between your ad campaign and your landing page, or people are finding or they are finding there is a missing link between those two um, components. So you do not want or there is some technical issue that is actually separating why it is giving a bounce rate that is supposed to be high. You want the visitors coming in from your ad campaigns to stay on your website, browse through the website, go on and either engage with your website, or even better, purchase a product on the website. And the next thing is the exit pages. People that come into your website must somehow leave your website, but you don't want those exits to happen in the middle of a shopping cart process or a checkout process. If you see if you see pages that are related to the checkout process in the exit pages, then that is a signal. That's a signal for us to change something on those particular pages. There could be glitches, technical glitches, because of which people are dropping off. So it helps us identify all those problems when you come to the when you come. So just keep monitoring these pages so that the highest exit pages should not be pages that are connected to the checkout process. And and about the site speed, I would like to give, not going into in-depth detail, but I would like to give an example of how we handled one of the scenarios in a business. Uh, the scenario was this: the advertising campaigns that we had launched were doing very well. We had a lot of click-throughs, and we actually were doing well when it came to the click-throughs. But we also had a high bounce rate on the same advertising campaign. So what does that actually tell you? There is some problem, right? So when we dug up into the data on Google Analytics, this is what we found out. The site speed reports actually helped us understand that the average page load time, most of our visitors were actually mobile visitors, and the average page load time was like 30 seconds for the landing page. So when it is 30 seconds, people click on the landing page button, but by the time the landing page loads, most of them have bounced away, because I cannot imagine waiting for 30 seconds just for a page to load, right? So that is one of the ways that site speed could be of help. And then there is also site search and events. Site search is one of the site search and events need additional JavaScript code implementation for enabling collection of data about site search as well as for events. So site search is nothing but when a user goes into the Google merchandise store, they are searching for a product because they are not able to find the product at a first glance, or they are having some difficulty browsing through the products. So all these things are reflected through the site search, and we can make adjustments based on what queries people are typing into the site search. Similarly, for the events, if somebody has clicked on a video play link, or if somebody has clicked on um, downloading a PDF file that shows that people are interested, and those particular people are engaged on my website. So it helps to collect information about that particular events. So with this, we come to the end of the behavior reports. Does anybody have any questions about behavior reports?
Yes.
Yes.
But for the site speed, is it does it kind of like almost the same thing as page insights? Is that how they do it? It's kind of similar.
Um, Page speed insights is it's kind of similar but not the same. You if site speed and if page speed insights is going to give you like a score, right? It gives you a score as to how the performance of a particular website is. So basically, it gives you the different scores. As to poorly performing is within 20, within 40 or something, and then within 60 is average, and then from 80 to 100 is highly performing pages. So it is very closely related though, because it is going to poorly performing sites will not actually have a high or they will have a really good average page load time. So I mean, what I mean is very well performing pages on page speed insights will have a very low average page load time, and vice versa for for poorly performing pages. So
Makes sense.
that basically relates. That's how you relate the page speed insights with the average page load time. This is exactly the page load time that is taken for each and every web page to load on a browser when a user clicks on a particular page or loads a particular page. So you want this particular as you can see, the definitions are given right here. It says average page load time is the average amount of time it takes for the pages from the sample set to load, from initiation of the page views to load completion in the browser. So that's a really long definition, but basically you understand, you get they both are interrelated, but I don't think it's exactly the same metrics though.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. So any other questions? Okay, so I guess we are clear about behavior reports. Now we are going to move on to conversion reports. But before we move on to conversion reports, we need to understand what goals are. Business goals are actually actions that you want a user to take on your site. So whenever a user takes a desired action on your site, it is called as conversion. And these conversion reports are basically about those particular actions. So you can track this conversions happening on your website by setting up Google Analytics goals. And Google Analytics goals can be of two different types. They could be micro goals or macro goals. What's the difference between a micro goal and a macro goal? A micro goal is actually something like steps towards, you go towards the final big action. That is a micro goal. And that could be, for example, signing up for a newsletter, downloading a PDF, playing a video, and things like that. And then there could be, just engaging with your website for a prolonged amount of time. Or and macro goals are nothing but these are the best things that could happen as far as your business objectives go. And they would be like purchasing a product, subscribing to your service, or and things like that. So those are macro goals. So now that we understand what is goals in Google Analytics, we are going to look into the types of goals. So talking about the types of goals, there are four different types. The first is the destination goal, the duration, pages per session, and then the event. So, for example, let me give an example for the destination goal. After you have completed a purchase, you are taken to a thank you page. Or after you have completed a subscription, after you have signed up for a subscription, you are taken to a thank you page. Those thank you pages can be specified here as the destination goal. So basically the user has completed all these different actions, right, on your website to actually get to that last end page. So that is why it is called as destination page. And then the next is the duration goal. The duration goal is basically how much time a user is spending on your website is the duration goal. If you want increased amounts, especially for publishers, this is a good metric to, this is a good type of goal to be set up for on publishing website, on publishers' websites. Then there is pages per session. They also view, especially on the publishers' websites, they also look at the pages per session. And then the next one is the event. The event goal is, once again, if you want though the events, the critical events to be monitored, such as order complete, a button is clicked, or for example, a video is played, a video button, a video player button is clicked. So all these things are events. The next one is, we are going to also see how a goal is set up in Google Analytics, and then we are going to navigate. Always remember one thing in conversion reports: it all starts with us setting up the goals. Without setting up the goals, the conversions, we are not going to be able to track the conversions for those particular goals. So the next thing is, so the conversion reports is, we are going to look at the overview as well as the funnel visualization before we move on to campaign tracking in Google Analytics. So let's quickly move to the conversions. So first we start by setting up the goals. As you can see, if you want to set up the goals, you need to go to the admin section and then move on to the view column. And then there is goals right here. this is since this is the Google Merchandise Store demo account, we have to look at we are able to look at the different goals that has been set up for this particular store, and for this particular view. As you can as you all know that there could be only 20 goals that can be set up per view. So this is the master view. So you can have about 20, there's already 5 setups. So you can have 15 more goals for this particular view. So let's in particular, let's view the purchase completed goal and how it has already been set up for us. So we are going to look at how it has been set up. So here we have the objective as checkout complete has been selected, and then next is the goal description. We need to select the goal description. We need to give a name. The name is purchase completed, and then this is a destination kind of goal. This is as we have already been through all these different kinds of goals, destination, duration, and all those different types of goals. This is a destination based goal. And remember that only for destination based goals, we will be able to set up a funnel, not for others. So this is a destination based goal. And then the next thing is we need to set up the goal details. So if it is a destination based goal, then we need to specify what is the end page that you want the users to go to for that particular goal completion, right? So we use regular expressions in order to make that happen. See, it says regular expressions, and we give the name of the or that particular last part of the URL of the page, which is ordercompleted.html. And just a little bit of recollection on what regular expression means. A regular expression is a sequence of characters that define a search pattern. So that's this is the best way to set up your destination goal, by using regular expressions. Like that, we have also used the regular expressions for setting up the other steps in the visualization funnel. This is we have set the visualization funnel to on, and then we are going to go through the different steps. So if your last page is going to be order complete, then then let's move in the reverse order. Then what should the other pages be? The other pages should be, first the user should have loaded up a product in the cart, and then they should have moved on to billing and providing the billing and shipping information, and then they should have made the payment and given us the payment details, and finally they should have reviewed the product and then finally purchased it by clicking on the purchase complete on purchase button, or place your order button, and then they are taken to this particular destination page. So that's how we set up a goal. And once your goal has been set up, just give it some time so that it will start collecting data about the user behavior that actually leads up to conversions, and especially leads up to the particular fulfillment of the particular goal that you have set up on Google Analytics. As you can see in the overview page, we saw several goals that have been set up, right? Of which we were focused on purchase completed. There were 122 of them that were completed. So moving on to the funnel visualization, we are talking about the same one, the purchase completed. As you can see, this is the purchase completed goal that we are actually tracking here. And we can see the different, why did we first of all set up the funnel visualizations? Because it actually facilitates us to look at the minute details that are related to the complete process. The details here are the card, billing and shipping and payment and review, and finally purchase completed. As you can see, there have been 122 purchases that have been completed. And then you will be also able to see for each step completion, how many people started it. There are 11,243 people that have started it, but only 9,160 people have already dropped off and exited. And as you can see, as it goes through the funnel from one step to the other, the number keeps decreasing. But for me, this is an astounding number. 9,160 people are falling right off here. They are dropping off here. And if I were the administrator, or I were the product business owner, then I will look into why this is happening. So that actually winds up our conversions reports. And if you have any questions, I can take it.
Sure. My question is about this specific goal because when I run an ad in the past, basically,
Mm-hmm.
I've created like a goal like some similar to this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what I don't know how to make it better, but basically when I was getting like some sort of sale, um, the amount of people who were buying it on the the platform in this are kind of not the same. Do you think the Google tags or get could have been, I don't know, how do you make it like accurate? Basically, that's my question. Or
I
is there?
didn't quite get the last part of your question.
Sure.
So
Sorry.
you,
So basically, I want to make it as accurate as possible in terms of getting tagged these people to on this specific funnel from from my land, like example like Shopify, for example, because they're not like the numbers are not kind of like the same. For example, if I'm doing a campaign, how do I make it a lot more like accurate? Or do you think doing like Google tags or something would make it a lot more accurate or something? Thank you.
we are going to talk about Google tags later. But this is actually for Google tags is something that we do for an advertising campaign. And we
Mm-hmm.
are going to talk about it a little later now.
Mm-hmm.
But the goals that we are setting up, no matter whether they come from the emails or from the advertising campaigns or from a different source or referral, the goals that we can set up is actually for only the user traffic on your website. Once they reach your website, you can start setting up a goal.
Okay. Mm.
Is that clear? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the goal is basically what you're basically doing is uh, like I said about the business objective. The business objective is you want, why do I have to have an e-commerce website, is basically to have people come in and purchase products on my website. So that's a macro goal. So I would set up a goal for that particular process itself, along with the visual funnel visualization, so that I can monitor people one. And it will start only when people start loading up their cart with my products. The
Mm.
goal monitoring will only start when a person starts to load products on their cart, and then they move into the next step like billing, shipping, payment. Those are the things. So that is a different kind of that is called as a destination goal. And there is also, like we saw, there are also other three different types of goals, which is a duration goal. Suppose I am a publisher website, like I'm a cnbc.com, and I want to know how many people are coming into and I make money only based on the display ads on my, only based on the display ads on my website, right? So I want them to spend more time on my website. So I would actually set up not a destination goal like the one you set up on e-commerce. I would rather set up a duration goal. And I will say the longer the period of time they spend on my site, then my goal is accomplished.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So next any other questions? Okay, now that we are clear on conversions reporting, we are going to move into the campaign tracking in Google Analytics. Campaign tracking is one of those, as we already talked about it, how do you keep track of the performance of various marketing campaigns? Is by adding pieces of campaign information to the landing page URL, and it is called as campaign tags. And those different campaign tags are medium, source, campaign, content, and term. The first three are mandatory or required, and the last two are optional. You may or may not set it up. That is dependent on the type of campaign that you're setting up, and we are going to talk about the details a minute from now. So basically, let's go and try setting up a this is basically for all of your different uh, ad campaigns, email campaigns, display campaigns, right? We can actually, we need to track them separately. All those different advertisements must be tracked separately, right? Because otherwise you will not be able to find out if one campaign performed better than the other, or what you're doing right and what you're not doing right in a particular campaign. So the problem with Google Analytics is that it will bucket all of the different ad campaigns or into page search into one generic bucket. So you will not be able to differentiate one from the other. So if you want to differentiate it, this is the way of differentiation, is to go and give it a campaign source, campaign medium, and a campaign name. And by providing these tags, the Google is able to identify the different campaigns that are coming from different sources. So we start with, and this tool, the campaign URL builder, is actually provided by Google. And we start with the website URL, which is the landing page URL. And then we move on into the campaign source. Let's say I want to do an email campaign. So I will start with the medium saying email. And then I want the campaign source will be newsletter. And I have two different versions of the newsletter, right? Version A and version B. So I might want to specify that in the campaign content. How? Like this. And then the campaign name is promo. I'm giving a 20% off. So I want to name it as promo 20. Just be mindful about not giving any spaces in between words, because if you give spaces, then Google Analytics is going to take the same thing as this. It's going to put an underscore between, because it does not like any spaces in between. Similarly, Google Analytics is sensitive. So The same thing, the promo campaign is not the same as promo campaign. This promo 20 is not the same as capital promo 20. So so keep it consistent in the naming of your source and medium. Keep it consistent when it comes to naming your campaign and providing campaign names. And the next thing is the campaign term. The campaign term is actually, we use it for Bing and Yahoo paid search campaigns. If there is a paid keyword, let's say shoes, then I will put it in as shoes here. But for this one is actually an email campaign that I'm launching. So you can see that I have filled out all of the forms, and these two are not mandatory fields. These four are mandatory fields. As you can see here, it is marked by a little star. And you will get a campaign URL just for this purpose is generated. One of the things I would like to mention here is, if you do not need to do this for your Google AdWords campaigns. Why? Because once you link your Google AdWords to your Google Analytics, and then you are going to enable auto tagging on Google Analytics, you do not have to do this. You can just give just the landing page URL, and Google AdWords will take care of the rest for you. And it will also bucket it in a separate full source medium as a different source medium campaign. So, but where can I use this for? Do this for email campaigns. Do this for if you have a Bing or a Yahoo paid advertising campaigns, you can do for all those other campaigns. And also, I would like to show you that there are so why do we beyond this, we can also make use of the UTM tracking template. And what is that UTM tracking template is? Okay, the computer is kind of slow, so we are just going to look at our PowerPoint presentation. We have already looked at the campaign URL builder interface. Then we have seen how how the campaign URL was generated. And then this is the UTM tracking template. The UTM tracking template is nothing but whatever we had put in to our URL builder. All those things we can just copy and paste it here, and we can keep a clear records of all the UTM codes that we have generated, so that we are generating consistent URLs. That's what it is used for. And with this, I would also like to show you that there are many. If you go and Google on UTM tracking template or URL builder spreadsheet templates, you'll be able to see a lot of them provide resources. But I like the one with cardinal path, so I have actually shown the template how it looks like inside on this PowerPoint slide. So I hope we are clear about the purpose of campaign tracking, as well as how to use the URL builder, as well as the tracking template. And with this, we come to the end of our session. Thank you very much. I highly enjoyed training the class for Google Analytics, and I wish you all the best for in your pursuit in learning digital marketing. And any